I was worried about you.
And I'm worried about you.
Well, here's what's gonna happen.
Tell me again.
It's time to break down another Better Call Saul episode in order. Writer and director Tom Schnauz,
It's go time.
nominated for an Emmy for this episode, embedded 3 potential clues to Kim's fate in this one. We'll talk about it along with 102 details you might not know in Season 5, Episode 9.
Bad Choice Road.
It's a montage, and a callback to the Something Stupid montage with an updated, slower version of the song from Lola Marsh. Although again, the one you're hearing now is from Summer Woods. Last time, the split screen showed them as emotionally distant despite being physically close. This time, it shows them as emotionally close while being physically distant. And this time, Jimmy and Kim swapped sides.
I know he swapped those sides.
According to Tom Schnauz, the sides last time were chosen because they match the sides they stand to brush their teeth and their sides of the bed, which is important for when the split goes away. Here, the only reason he swapped them is that he wanted to start with this shot of the sun, and it made more sense to him to have that on the left, like how Something Stupid started. And like the other episode, the line is slightly off-center to make that initial shot take up 50% of the screen. To get this shot, they had to be set up before sunrise all the way out in using that special Canon 2000mm lens from Bagman so the sun would be large. This is Bob's hand, and they had him standing on a ladder to line things up perfectly. Again, the heat haze here was added with propane. We've never seen either one of them smoke inside their apartment before. Tom felt this was important to show to highlight her stress. Tom's original idea was for Kim's smoke to drift toward Jimmy's heat waves, but it didn't really work, so he opted for the lighter close-up instead. This rattlesnake is real and named Legs. Because the camera is so close to the snake, it's on a crane and remotely operated. Although the snake wrangler said that if it goes rogue, it would travel uphill, so Bob and Jonathan were in more danger than the camera operator would have been. They got this shot with a 90-degree snorkel lens inside the fish tank. Also, it doesn't count since he doesn't appear in the episode, but I think that's Matt Feet. And now we know Preppy Shopper was wearing long sleeves to hide his tattoo. Tom really wanted the fish to swim by, so they were filming for about 10 minutes waiting for the fish, then cued Ray to move. Some of these desert shots were taken close to the studio, and some of Kim's shots were done at the end of the season because they ran out of time. Part of the reason was that a squirrel got into the transformer at the studio and they lost power for about an hour.
Oh.
Jimmy?
I'm Howard Hamlin. I offered Jimmy a job at HHHHHH.
Let's try this again.
Jimmy?
Yeah. It's me.
I'm okay.
It was scripted for us to only hear Jimmy say this over the phone, but the editor felt this packed more of an emotional punch. And yes, this does make me tear up every time.
So now you know I'm a cupcake.
For the second episode in a row, the usual title sequence is pretty fitting. Morrissey Freight is an Easter egg named after Sony executive John Morrissey. These appear to be 2019 ice prices rather than 2004. Tom confirmed this is an homage to Pulp Fiction.
Perfect.
Jimmy's shirt is a lot like Todd's mug in Breaking Bad. Tom wanted the phrase to match in the script, but they went with something close. Here's Jonathan modeling his shirt during his wardrobe test. Tom got this shirt for the crew, and here are some of them doing their best Jonathan impersonation. Mike's cup just rotated, and his watch just jumped from 6:35 to 2:59. Only the later time makes sense for the pickup because it was already daylight when their phones started working, and Tyrus and Victor would need to drive many hours to get there, unless they happen to be in the area. But only the earlier time makes sense for the drop-off because the courthouse cashier closes at 4 p.m. This gas station is across the street from the Route 66 casino where the cast and crew stayed while filming Bagman. They filmed this during the same half-day they got the shots in. They're again wearing the many layers of sunburn makeup and vitamin E oil to simulate sweat.
Alright, stay put, call me if there's a problem.
Tyrus's Alcatel phone is from over a decade in the future.
It's all still there.
Couple of flatbeds headed their way. They'll clear it all out.
And the one who followed you? We'll be damn lucky if we ever find that guy.
Well, all I have to do. He's in the middle of nowhere. Don't go to sleep yet. You gotta work on your story.
Let's do it.
I woke up, I found her, that's all I know.
Jesus, we got in there, cinder blocks.
This room was constructed inside the courthouse, and it's the same area we saw when Jimmy and Kim got their marriage license in JMM, but redesigned.
De Guzman.
In the early phases, Lalo's fake last name was going to be Valdez.
$7 million?
Yep.
Of course, they're not going to have that many real $100 bills, so you can see the for motion picture use only when you freeze frame, as well as the same serial number on all of them. It didn't make the cut, but Jimmy was originally considering throwing away his mug, then interrupted by Gina entering.
I'm fine.
Saying that was Bob's idea. They filmed a version with and without it just in case it didn't work. This is already a fake phone number beginning with 1, but it's also missing a digit.
Your client has $7 million. Where'd it come from?
It's not for me to ask where a client gets his money.
And just who exactly is your client?
Jorge de Guzman.
Gina, exit.
Yes, hello. This is extra.
Oops, he forgot about his payment.
And now, Mr. de Guzman?
This is the first Tom-directed episode since expenses in Season 3 due to complications from colon cancer surgery.
Well, you must have a story.
This was the real address, but perhaps it was shown so prominently because of the meaning of Romans 4:15.
Car trouble. Broke down about 6 miles from the pickup site.
Why so long? It's not that far back to the main road. You didn't just hitchhike?
He was on a dirt road for 31.6 miles, and -6 is still almost...
A marathon?
Did he mean hitchhike on the dirt road, or after walking 25 miles in the desert carrying 150 pounds of money?
$7 million in cash. I was kind of afraid who might pick me up.
Well, that was the right call.
They had a couple lightning delays while filming this that ate up about an hour and a half.
Hey, you did good, huh?
$7 million. It really set up a huge flare. They're looking into you.
By the time these dipshits figure it out, I will be long gone, man. Mexico! Hey, but don't worry. You and me, we're not done. Friend of the cartel, right? Make sure you buy something nice for the wife. Man, she's a looker, huh?
My what?
She came by to see me. Nice job, eh? For somebody who marries that far up, respect, you know?
You need to go to the emergency room.
I'm okay.
Let's at least just go get you an IV, huh?
I'm really okay.
An oatmeal bath, anti-inflammatory.
This was the final scene they shot, besides some pickup shots at the end of the season. Shots from this angle were surprisingly difficult to get because Kim's bathroom set wasn't designed for this wall to be removable, and they didn't have replacement tiles, so they had to very carefully remove the wall without damaging the tiles.
Can't believe you walked through the desert alone for 36 hours.
I'm by myself. Is there anything you want to tell me?
Oh, Mr. Honesty over here.
About?
You saw Lalo?
Short of going to the police, Lalo was the only lead I had to figure out.
You don't see me. Lalo. I see Lalo. I'm in the game. You're not in the game.
What? The game?
She didn't say in.
He's my client.
I was worried about you.
And I'm worried about you. I thought I was done. Done! The only thing that kept me going was knowing that you were here.
Okay. I won't see Lalo again. Nothing like that will ever happen again. Never again. It'll never happen again.
Good.
She's being really tender, not only because of the sunburn, but so in real life she wouldn't ruin the makeup.
After all this, was it worth it?
Go look in the bag.
This is freedom. This is saying I can go anywhere I want.
You can go anywhere. You can do anything.
Hey, now it's real money on top. For this shot, they mounted the mug to the camera and used a periscope lens half an inch away.
You see it? Yeah, Jimmy. I see it.
That's what it's all about.
My guess is they followed the Salamanca cousins up from Chihuahua. They had tattoos. Same symbol I saw on a job back east. Colombian gang.
Draw it for me.
Like one of your French girls.
These men were hired.
By who?
Denied from saying whom once again. They couldn't afford to license a real golf game, so they designed these graphics themselves and are just playing pre-recorded footage on the screen. A spring-loaded rig swung the golf club at the press of a button so the ball would hit the right spot and so the camera wouldn't get hit with the club. The camera was this close to hide that it wasn't really Bolsa, and that's probably also why they only included one swing rather than the two that were scripted. Bolsa's ball rolled away, but then it reappears here.
See? I trust you heard the good news. Our colleague has been released by the American authorities, and I'm told he will be returning home to continue operations. That is good news.
Although this was meant to be Bolsa's hacienda in Mexico, this was filmed at Hotel Andaluz in Albuquerque, formerly named
La Posada,
where Howard wanted to host Chuck's retirement party and where Hank booked a spa treatment for Marie.
I booked you a spa package at La Posada.
It'll show up again in the next episode.
And I trust your run of bad luck will be behind you. Bad luck?
The DEA, the fire, the arrests.
My hope is that it's over.
I believe the coming weeks will be our best yet.
Excellent.
I just spoke to the man responsible for the attack.
Someone we need to worry about?
He was trying to protect his own business by protecting our business.
If that's him trying to help.
He knows nothing of what we are trying to accomplish.
So why would Bolsa do this? He knew or suspected that Lalo was messing with Gus's operation.
You two must coexist.
Gus is a huge earner for Eladio, so keeping Lalo in jail seemed good for business. So both Bolsa and Gus want Lalo out of the picture, but have opposite ways of going about it. The only weird thing is that Bolsa implies he knows Lalo was responsible for the fire while still in jail. Maybe he has his own plan to murder him in jail and thinks he can convince the Salamancas that Gus wasn't behind it. But Gus knows that's not possible.
Once Salamanca is south of the border, our actions must be unimpeachable.
Has to be unimpeachable.
Any reflection on me will not be greeted with kindness.
In the rush to get everything filmed, Tom never got this further back shot of Mike sitting here, only these close-ups. So all the shots with this view were filmed later at the end of the season. As they changed the topic from the cartel to Nacho, Tom had scripted a change of scenery.
Yes.
But they couldn't fit that into the schedule.
There's one other thing we should discuss. Nacho Varga. He wants out.
He's a man of his word.
We take care of Lalo, then we'll talk. I think it's time we cut him loose.
I see no reason to give up an asset.
He's the only guy they have running things up here. He disappears, Salamanca operation falls apart.
Varga stays. Better to control the opposition without their knowledge.
You have a gun to his father's head. That doesn't sit with me. I don't think fear is a great motivator.
Oh, so Gus was being sassy when he hit Mike with his own words.
I don't believe fear to be an effective motivator.
And this seems unbelievable, but Tom said he didn't remember that Gus said this when writing the script.
I completely forgot. Gus says almost the same exact thing to Mike.
I thought we discussed that, and this is where Gus got it from. I thought Gus was actually weirdly quoting Mike there.
Luckily, it works out that way. I was like, oh shit, Gus said this before.
A dog who bites every owner he's had.
Killing your partner, that's a bell you don't unring.
It's him or me.
Can only be disciplined with a firm hand or put down.
Nacho Varga
isn't just some rabid dog.
That explains why he thinks the fear approach makes sense for Nacho, but perhaps not for others like Walt.
I want investment.
Tomorrow morning he's seeing Hector to say goodbye. Somebody else is taking him over the border. That's it, right? He's done?
Just do what you're told. Don't worry about it.
They worked all day on this scene because there was a lot more to it that got cut. The episode was running long and it was the only big chunk that could be removed without affecting the story. It was never made available as a deleted scene, so I've attempted to recreate it for you.
Action!
Amber and Joe look up from the mess of a Mexican meal they're cooking.
Baby, how does he like it? Spicy? Extra spicy?
Just make it however. He'll add extra if he wants.
Nacho walks toward the bathroom where Lalo got out of the shower and is checking out his mustache in the mirror.
Ignacio, what's the deal?
The crew's headed to El Beach. Everyone should be there about 40 minutes or so.
Excelente. What clothes you got? My shirt stinks from that shithole.
Nacho notices his safe isn't fully closed and has scratches on it. Everything's still there, but he's mad.
So, how do they get this pepper into this pepper?
You're such a weirdo. It's the same way they make grapes into raisins. They just dry it out.
Oh, that's crazy.
You trying to steal from me?
What, baby?
You tried to break into my safe.
What? No, we wouldn't do that.
Bullshit.
Babe, we didn't go near your safe.
You think you can lie to me?
We're not lying.
Tell me the truth.
You were gone, baby. We were just looking for stuff.
You always say treat this like our home. We just went looking around.
Get out of here.
Please, 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 one more chance.
Well, we won't do it again. We swear. Please.
Go now. Don't come back.
Come on, baby. Please give us another chance. One more chance.
Hey, sure you want to toss these two out?
Here we find out that Lalo got his gun from Nacho.
Come on, get out.
We're sorry. We're so sorry.
Just shut up. Shut your mouth. Get out of my sight. Move. Get out. Go. You come back, you're done.
Done.
Understand?
That's the way it is. Only so many people in this world you can trust.
Is Lalo talking about Nacho too?
Their food sucks anyway. No spice. Yo cocino algo en Michoacán.
Thank you very much to these actors. I didn't use my own voice this time, so cool it, Cliff.
Hey, hungry?
You going in late today?
I just thought I'd stay home today.
I can take care of myself.
Well, I already called in sick, so you're stuck with me.
The cereal box just flipped around, and the Kroger logo is a decade too new. There's a little bit of karma here.
Jimmy, it's very loud.
Oh! These close-up shots were actually filmed at Nacho's house as they had more time for it while they were shooting that scene that mostly got cut. 5 times, they very quickly alternate between shots from a slightly different perspective. Tom got the idea from editor Kelly Dixon doing a similar trick in Salute when Jesse killed Joaquin. To pull this off, DP Marshall Adams built this rig for 2 side-by-side cameras that lined up Bob perfectly. They had another rig for getting an overhead view of the apartment that would spin around, but they didn't have time to do both types of special shots, so Tom chose the 5 oscillating shots instead.
Damn it!
Here the box and milk move.
I guess my stomach's just not ready for this yet.
It's okay.
This shot was filmed at the end of the season. Of course, as a result, the way the bowl broke doesn't match when they did it earlier.
Not a big deal.
Jimmy has had PTSD from violence before.
Are you sure you don't have to go into work?
Yeah, I'm sure.
They're watching His Girl Friday, which Mike also watched in Fifi.
So long, Walter.
Back then, the creators said they're just fans and it was on their list of cheaper free movies. The script just called for a harmless old black and white comedy. But if you want to read more into it, it's about a woman who can't quit an unhealthy relationship. Jimmy's subconsciously wiping away blood spatter. Tom's influence for this shot was this one from The Exorcist, which he considers one of the scariest shots in the movie. That's a fake number starting with 1.
Saul Goodman, speedy justice for you. It's impossible today. I can't help you. Just wait 45 minutes. I can be there.
What? Jimmy, what are you doing?
It's my client. He's in big trouble.
You don't have to do this today.
I wouldn't feel right leaving him hanging.
Jimmy, look, I know you're lying. And I know something terrible happened in the desert. This isn't about our deal. I'm not insisting or forcing you to tell me. I just want you to know that I'm here and you can tell me.
You're right. When I was in the desert, I had to drink my own pee. Yeah, that's it. So I'm gonna go get changed and I'm gonna get down there.
In the first draft of the story, we were going to see Kim drop Jimmy off at the courthouse and she was going to say, "Love you," which caught him off guard, indicating it was the first time she's told him that. But it didn't make the cut, so they still have never said it to each other.
Kim, feeling better?
Oh, yeah, just a 24-hour thing. Besides, I thought I should come in and prep the Colorado meeting.
Steph handled it.
That's why she's famouser.
Wow. Well, okay.
You wanted to write letters to the planning board in Broomfield?
Right. Yes, that's right. Dear Mr. Bakaris, in regards to the resolution PZ2004-36, minimum required rear setback for 841 North.
It's ironic that Kim's books are out of order, considering how she acted in her training videos.
Shouldn't these be arranged by Seth, though?
No, just don't touch them.
So can you call his assistant and get some intel on what he's into right now? Kim, they told me you were out sick today.
Rich, you free to talk? Marcy, can you do me a favor? Box up my diplomas and photos, please.
Are we moving offices?
I don't want you to worry. I talked to Rich. You'll be reassigned to another partner.
Wait, reassigned?
Kim, can't you just explain it to her?
They're gonna want these. Thank you, Marcy. Good luck.
Kim.
Of course, she cherishes the Zafiro topper, presumably from their first con.
That's a keeper.
It's a great and intentional parallel to Jimmy going back to get his mug.
La policía se va a volver loca, buscándome 2 meses. Además, estando en casa, voy a tener el oído de Eladio y me voy a asegurar de que se harte del pollero ese. Todo lo que sea de Fring va a ser nuestro. Y en 11 meses Tuco sale de la cárcel y se va a encargar de todo aquí.
What do you want? Don't even tell me that you're hungry.
Mira, nos vamos a encargar de que alguien lo esté vigilando. Va a estar solo.
Well, we know that doesn't happen, so something must go wrong with Lalo's plan.
Hi there. We're bringing birthday cake out for Louise. Hector really doesn't like to miss these.
So now you know I'm a cupcake.
Yeah. Could you give us a minute, please?
You guys, these candles are getting wax all over the place.
Her reaction gets me every time.
La familia es todo.
That's a callback to the first Breaking Bad episode Tom wrote.
La familia es todo.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Tom said he hoped this would have become more of a meme. This was the first scene they shot for this episode, as Tom likes to start with something easy.
Go. The border.
They were unable to shoot outside the original Casa Tranquila, so this is a different place that they pretended was the back of the building. It's similar to when they added this shot to Breaking Bad in the studio parking lot. We knew Gus had been tracking Nacho's car already, but they make sure we know he's tracking him now to help explain the end of this episode.
Hey, 308. That was something. What happened in there? Snatching defeat from the jaws of victory?
Even when dressed up, normally colorful Jimmy/Saul only wears white shirts in this episode. He's definitely rattled.
Law students are going to review the Goodman debacle as a teachable moment. Think of all the kids you'll help learn what not to do when faced with underwhelming odds. You'll probably have to change your name again.
So, have you thought any more about the job?
Hey, I don't think any less of you. You're still a lawyer.
I'm a little surprised that they cut this important moment showing this triggers him to call Mike and ask for help, but I guess it's implied. They also cut this callback to the ants earlier in the season as they decided it was more trouble than it was worth.
You can start talking anytime.
It's your meeting. Why don't you start talking and tell me what you want?
You said this goes away, so when will this be over for me?
Well, here's what's going to happen.
Can you believe this is only the third time he's said this, and that he actually never said it in Breaking Bad? We only got it from these alphas.
Here's what's gonna happen. Here's what we're gonna do.
Here's what you're gonna tell them.
One of the other times Mike said it was to Daniel, who got a similar speech also in a car. Tom also wrote and directed this. He acknowledged that these two scenes have a lot in common and said he was careful not to repeat himself too much.
You can start talking anytime. You can pay me now. We all make our choices. That's up to you. One day you're gonna wake up, eat your breakfast, brush your teeth, go about your business.
Jonathan asked Tom if he could swap the order, although people seem to be split on which is correct.
And sooner or later, you're gonna realize you haven't thought about it. None of it.
The script confirms that Mike was inspired by Stacy's situation.
Hadn't thought about Maddie all morning.
And that's the moment you realize you can forget. When you know that's possible, it all gets easier.
What happened out there doesn't bother you?
They were in the game.
What about Fred? Was he in the game?
No.
They removed the car's windshield for the sake of the camera, and they couldn't have the AC on for sound reasons. So on this hot and humid August day, it was brutal inside the car, and flies kept interfering. They blew in cool air through this yellow hose.
There was a lot wrong with what happened there.
Yeah, Lalo. He killed that guy, and we're helping him. All this shit, so he can get out of jail and just get away.
It's not the end of the story.
Mike took a really big risk with his loose lips there in order to make Jimmy feel better.
Oh, you're a chatty Cathy today. You're saying what I think you're saying? Something gonna happen to Lalo?
I didn't say that.
What have I gotten myself involved with?
Here the perspective just shifted and the scene got darker and more intimate as we get to the heart of the matter.
What are you saying is gonna...
We all make our choices. And those choices, they put us on a road. Sometimes those choices seem small.
50% off.
But they put you on the road. You think about getting off, but eventually you're back on it. And the road we're on led us out to the desert and everything that happened there and straight back to where we are right now. Nothing can be done about that. Do you understand that?
I can't believe there's like over 1 billion people on this planet, and the only person I have to talk about this to is you. You.
For this scene and this line especially, Tom was inspired by this scene in Taxi Driver.
Man takes a job, you know, that becomes what he is.
I don't know, that's about the dumbest thing I ever heard.
At the end of this scene is some nonsense going on with these skateboarders. Perhaps it's a reference to the start of Jimmy's Bad Choice Road that introduced him to Tuco. Originally, along with seeing the ant at the beginning, Jimmy was going to step on it here, Skinny Pete style. This is the spot of the Bagman shootout, and it looks like Gus's crew cleaned it up nicely. They continued to use the 2 fake wells built for Bagman 400 feet apart. For background reasons, they used one while we're looking in one direction and the other while we're looking in the other direction.
You want me to wait? Nah. They'll be here. You sure? Yeah. Look, I'll be in touch. We're gonna do more. We're gonna do things. Big things. Sounds good.
Nacho's car is understandably quite dirty, but in almost every other shot it looks clean.
Broke down about 6 miles from the pickup site.
Take me back up the road. What for? Just do it. 6 or 7 miles back.
Originally, Lalo was going to have this realization because a conversation with Nacho made him think about cars. But it seems reasonable enough that seeing the well would make him think about the pickup and Saul's car trouble.
What are we looking for? Lawyer said his car broke down 6 miles from the pickup. Where is it? Oh, let me out here.
You can see the camera operator's reflection in Lalo's
impressive belt buckle.
This is a stuntman, but he's still a Salamanca. Remember Joaquin, who I just mentioned earlier? Stuntman Gabe Nunez is the guy who played him in Breaking Bad. They were unable to leave the car there from the Bagman shoot, so a crane took it away, then put it back. When they put it back, rain had washed away a lot of the dirt and turned what was supposed to be a 10-foot jump into a 15-foot jump instead. But this is all real, although there was some padding on the Esteem. It kind of looks like we're seeing some of the padding, but I'm not sure. There seems to be some holes in Jimmy's story.
Literally.
They got this shot 4 days earlier, not in Tahajali, and it was just a little card held up to the camera. Both of these have just about the same level of realism.
Come, back to Albuquerque.
This final scene, almost 17 minutes long, originally aired with no commercial breaks. Although don't worry about the advertisers, they had more frequent breaks earlier to compensate for it.
Jimmy?
What time is it?
It's 6:30.
That matches what we see on the microwave clock, but in May in Albuquerque, the sun doesn't set until around 8 p.m. Kicking off her shoes here was Ray's idea for a reason I'll talk about later.
You can still go to a doctor, you know.
I think I just need food. I haven't eaten since really before everything. What about you? You seem worried, maybe?
I have news, but it can wait.
Let me hear it.
I quit Schweikart and Coakley, and I gave up Mesa Verde. How about we get some food together?
Wait, what happened? Did somebody say something?
Because Tom wanted Ray to turn on the lights in the apartment, they stuck this fake light switch on the wall where there never was one before. It will stay there from now on.
It felt right.
Boo, that pizza place has a 555 number. That's not up to Pollo's standards.
I thought you were dead. So, that helped me to see what's important and what isn't.
You're just gonna throw it all away? You busted your ass for all of it.
I worked my ass off to get here.
I worked my ass off!
They've had this conversation before, although the roles are now reversed.
You remember how long you studied for that bar? How hard you worked?
It's not for me. I don't want it.
Not throwing it away. I achieved that. It doesn't make me happy.
Good choice turning off the stove clock for this super long scene filmed over 2 days. Although the joke's on you, schnauz, because this anomaly still counts as a detail. Kim's watch isn't anywhere close to 6:30 unless she's wearing it upside down.
It's been a rough couple of days, so why don't you just hold off on a final decision? You call Rich.
I already talked to Rich. It's done. Then I spent the afternoon at the courthouse with pro bono clients without Mesa Verde hanging over my head. Best afternoon I've had in a long time.
We know Kim hasn't been into her job for a long time. Just pro bono work or cons.
Pro bono is wonderful, but pro bono means no money.
What's the plan?
So what's the plan?
I don't know. But I'll figure it out.
Leaving Schweikart, I get that. Mesa Verde, hey, that's like leaving the Yankees to play amateur ring toss.
Grade school T-ball versus the New York Yankees.
Maybe Walt picked up this way of speaking from Saul.
You're goddamn right.
Although the real reason is that Tom wrote both of these episodes.
I'm leaving something that makes zero difference in the world to help people who are actually in need.
This is a bad idea.
What?
We all make choices, right? And those choices, they put us on a road. And the road has good choices and it has bad choices. And this is a bad choice road.
What are you even talking about?
I'm saying that bad choices lead to bad roads that lead to bad places.
Although he's bungling it, he's once again parroting what someone else said.
Those choices, they put us on a road.
Let's look back at so many times he's done this.
Getting old sucks. Seniors need someone on their side. Criminals have no recourse.
A chip with a machine gun, that's me, right?
You can make it zero.
What kind of lawyer guilty people hire, right?
You don't matter all that much to them. The winner takes it all.
One
has absolutely nothing to do with the other. 100 large. No one's gonna look at me twice.
Let me go to that cartel.
Put $1 in my pocket.
When you decided to be Saul Goodman, I didn't get it. Still don't really, but I stood by your decision.
What I did was completely different.
How?
Because I was leaving failure for success.
You believed it was right for you. Give me the courtesy of believing this is right for me.
This is too far too fast.
This is really none of your damn business.
Yeah.
Put your phone down, leave it on so I can hear.
Do what?
Do what I said right now. Somewhere it can't be seen.
Jimmy.
There's a better look at Mike's number, which appears to match what we saw earlier.
Hey, guys. Thought you'd be down south enjoying your freedom.
It was Bob's idea to not make the pina colada joke that was originally planned here.
Yeah, well, that's some business to attend to. Told you he'd be back.
Nice! I'm sorry. Sorry, you shouldn't do that. It upsets the fish.
To help make Jimmy and Kim feel more trapped, Tom had them film with a longer lens, resulting in a shallow depth of field.
Look, you want to talk, we can talk, but Kim was just stepping out.
Nah, she could stay. She is part of the legal team, right? Come on, sit. So, tell me what happened.
What happened?
When you picked up the money.
What I told you already.
Yes.
To make Lalo appear more menacing, DP Marshall raised the lamp to cast the shadow across his face, and a gaffer changed the bulb to a clear one to make it more crisp. It's hard to tell because of the angle, but you can see the lampshade holder rotated 90 degrees.
I picked up the money from your cousins. It was right where you told me it would be.
You're gonna see a well.
Driving back, my car crapped out about 6 or 7 miles from the pickup site.
It's funny that now he says 6 or 7 after Lalo said it.
6 or 7 miles back.
As he originally just said 6.
There's no phone service, so I walked north through the desert all night. I made it to a truck stop, bought some clothes, and I called a cab. I delivered the money. Took him a couple hours to count it, and I saw you.
We don't normally get a good look at the books down here, but I recognize that engineering graphics book. The Kettlemans also have it, and in both cases it's pretty weird.
Tell me again.
Tell me again.
Why does Skylar have so much in common with Gus and Lalo?
Unimpeachable.
What's she up to, man? What's she doing?
What?
Tell me again.
The script explains he's using a common technique for exposing a liar. Maybe his stories will have inconsistencies, or maybe he'll repeat himself word for word, indicating he might be giving a rehearsed response. But Jimmy's a good con man, so he knows to switch it up.
I picked up the money from those two fine gentlemen.
They're good boys.
My car broke down after about 10 minutes. There was no phone service.
Crappy service.
I was afraid to hitchhike because of how much money. And I ran out of water, so I had to drink my own pee. A lot of it. So you wanted details, there you go. Finally made it to a truck stop. I called a cab. He took me directly to the courthouse. I paid your bail and I got you out. I'm not sure what you're looking for here, but there you go.
I just want to hear the story.
Lalo, this is exactly what he told me, so if you could just... Shh.
I just like to hear the story. I paid a lot of money for that story. I think I can hear it as much as I want.
Again, another 11 knock, something he shares in common with Howard.
So. Tell me again.
I picked up 2 big bags of money.
Until they rehearsed this, Tom wasn't sure the scene was going to work since Jimmy repeats the same story over and over, and writers are trained not to repeat things. Oh yeah, Mike's listening. And unlike before, this really is the exact amount of time that elapsed since Jimmy picked up the phone.
2 heavy bags that you paid me to get.
Take the shot, Mike. But Gus would be outraged if he did.
It's not in my interest for Eduardo Salamanca to die at this time.
They put up these twinkle lights, but DP Marshall learned from Winter and used sterno heat lamps between the camera and the lights to make the light less consistent. They filmed this on a scissor lift that went through the ceiling of the Schweikert and Coakley conference room set to get this view of Kim's apartment set on a different part of the soundstage. They fudged this shot to match the window and balcony door layout on set. It turns out the exterior shots we've seen in other episodes never matched. This is similar to the White's fireplace being in a different spot on the inside versus outside, or having a wood crawl space despite being built on a concrete pad.
My car's engine went. I tried to fix it, but it was overheated or something.
I walked and I walked.
With those heavy bags. I don't know what the problem is, but can she leave? She had nothing to do with it. It was me. It was all me.
What'd you do, Saul?
I don't really know. I
saw your car. You push it in a ditch?
What?
Did you push it in a ditch?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? You either did or you didn't, so, which one is it?
Do you want the money back? Because it's in a bag in the other room. You can take it.
I just want what happened.
Look, okay.
She could tell he's about to break and tell the truth.
Are you kidding me with this? Do you know what he did for you? He hauled $7 million across a goddamn desert without 1 penny missing. And he got you out of jail for a murder that, let's face it, you're definitely guilty of. And went way beyond what any other lawyer would ever do. So, what do you want?
When writing and directing this episode, and especially this scene, Tom was motivated by the viewer's concern for Kim, since we don't see her in Breaking Bad and she now seems to be in the game. He put in 3 clues to make people think she would die in this episode. The first was her looking through the bullet hole like it's a sight pointed at her. The second was the oranges as an omen of death, a common trope popularized by the Godfather movies, although Ted made it out alive. And then this is the third, with crosshairs on her. The fish tank bit was not only for tension and to reinforce that Lalo's the bad guy, but to also get Lalo and Kim in the right spot for Mike's scope.
I found his car in a ravine. bullet holes on the side. So I'm just waiting to hear how that happened.
That's it? I don't know what it's like where you're from, but here in New Mexico, you leave a soda can out, someone's taking a shot at it. That's what you're on about.
Kim's not wrong, although this happened in Old Mexico.
You don't think it's possible a couple of yahoos with guns shot up a piece of junk car and then rolled it down in a ditch? End of story?
End of story. End of story. End of story.
What kind of operation are you running? Because I think I know why you sent him to do this job. You have no one else you can trust. You need to get your house in order.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you don't trust your men with your money, you have bigger problems than if you trust Saul Goodman. And for the record, he doesn't lie. Not to me, not to his clients. He's telling you the truth.
This is like one of those logic puzzles.
You lie. I lie. But next time you have a bunch of money and no one you can trust, leave him out of it, okay? Try a wire transfer. A shell company or you've heard of the Cayman Islands, right? Jesus, get your shit together.
Okay. She's dead.
And stop torturing the one man who went through hell to save your ass.
So Ray made sure her shoes were off earlier because the smaller she looks when approaching Lalo, the better. To her, it magnified that the only way to attack him was with her legal wit. And indeed, she established reasonable doubt and made a compelling closing argument. This has become her signature move.
If you continue to ignore us, then this is the wrong relationship.
Every single one of them played by the rules. Fair?
And I feel sorry for you.
And this is another case of her defending him when she knows he's lying. Although the side shots are real, Jonathan's in front of a green screen here. The writers discussed ending this episode on Kim's side, much like the end of episode 6, but they felt they needed this last bit to make the next episode make sense. Wow, he better hope Lalo doesn't look up.
What now? Mexico. Back to the same place?
Nope. Change of plans.
Originally, Lalo was going to be more explicit, but they opted for more mysterious.
Come on, Ignacio, go. We got a long way ahead of us.
They shot this at 4 a.m. with the camera on this crane.
So you wanted details, there you go.
I can't believe Burbs is a 3-year member. And look at these 2-year members. Kian, Mace, Elgato Clientele, Pink Pools, Maddock, Anderson Diaz, Paul Blanchard, Salivea, V-Rude Cassie, The Jonathan, Ghostly Mimic, Brogley, Quantum Sponge, Harles the First, Psydev, Ferret Face, Liam Sturgis, Obama Gangnam Style, Kaido, Funny Fish, I, LMAO, Rick SSBM, Williachi, and Grandpa Max Gaming. Here are the 1-year members. Crime, Sir Feedalot, Tiny Clown saying hello, Dylan, Grace, Krasnovich Arrest, Roddy Olive 93, Milkshake GD, Riley McCullough, Tobe, Seth Ost, Anthony Abu Francis, Thesis and Thread, Jacob Sunderland, Logan Hembry, Black Diamond, Rohilo, Complications, Sip, Pokemon History and Lore, Flamius, Jacob, Murdoff, Wojciech Sternot, Space Ghost Coast to Coast, Big Spaghetti 69, No Face 99, MGO Films, Sego Music, Brian Leonard, Josh Gatos, B510, Kobe Rubin, Sean Cliff 17, Mr. Killmeister, Sammy is Spicy, John Smith, Alex, Rena the Akiha, Nadir Akhtar, Pedro, Zachary Myers, Maculatum, Blaz, Kyle, Donovan Uday, Papa John's, Delaney Hall, Toronto Raptors, MC Heisenberg, Colin, Drew Muller, Chuck, Kali Carr, Kasubi, Marcus Sim, Dante Gutierrez, One Life, Razorbug, Franti Clamp, Coles, Shane Souls, Justin McGill, Eric Sullivan, Barmiro, Dale Gribble 14, 70 Nebby, Rafik Samiz, Andy Starr, Sylv Soph, Mason TC, The Arbor Philiac, Ian E. Power, DJ Rainstorm, Bonus Blake, Jasper 3948, and Tsunami Inc. Next time, it's the season finale and the final piece of the Something trilogy.
This is so weird. Okay, let's do it. Same place.
Jesus, what am I involved with here? What are you saying is gonna happen?
One more time, that plywood.
Jesus.